Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Can I get a roll call, please, Madam Clerk?
Supervisor File.
Here.
Clerk Newbeck here. Treasurer Brown is absent this evening. Trustee Hayward.
Here.
Trustee Morocco.
Here.
Trustee Nalamathu.
Here.
And Trustee Tedder.
He's on his way.
Yes,
On
he
his way.
is.
I heard. Okay.
We have a quorum.
All right, great. As far as the agenda goes, I'd like to make a motion to move M2 on the agenda up to L2 and move L2 to L3. That's the closed session regarding the legal opinion on the sign.
Support.
Can I get a roll call, please?
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Trustee Hayward.
Yes.
Trustee Morocco.
Yes.
Trustee Nalamathu.
Yes.
And Supervisor File.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay, I'd also like to get a motion to approve the agenda as modified.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay. At this time, we'd like to allow the board or public for any announcement the board or public would like to meet. Individuals should come up to the microphone in the center to make their statement containing information about a recent or upcoming event. Yes, sir, please come on up and say your name and address, please.
My name is Paul Backer, 8851 Lakeview Boulevard, Clarkston, Michigan. I'd like to start out by addressing Terry. You live in a private subdivision in Oakhurst, right? You're on the board there with the golf park, according to your profile.
I'm not on a board.
You're not on the board there? I'm sorry, then I read that wrong. You understand what private means, right? You're on the Walters Lake Improvement Board as a treasurer?
No, I'm just one of the new board members, which we've had one meeting in the fall and we had one meeting this week.
So you're not the treasurer on the Walters Lake Improvement Board?
No,
I must have read that wrong. I apologize.
it's okay.
I have a petition here.
Is announcements or comments?
Yeah,
I have
so
70
actually, I'm sorry, as a point of order, this is announcements. I think you're going to want to wait till the very next agenda item, which is kind of more of the public comments. So this is more like, hey, we've got the Knights of Columbus coming up.
Respectfully, I'll sit back now.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Anybody else have any public comments or announcements? No, yep. Anyone online? No? Okay, I do have one. Last board meeting, we approved or discussed the fact that the KFC were doing their Tootsie Roll Drive. I did receive a letter from the Knights of Columbus. That's rather long, but I think the thing that should make all the dentists here in Independence Township very happy is that they were able to raise $23,530.20 over a 2-weekend at several different locations throughout the area. By the way, which is almost a 15% was collected in just 2 days above the mentioned intersections alone. So congratulations to them for having it successful, and thank you for everybody that participated in that. All right, at this point, we'll close board. I'm sorry, does anybody else on the board have any comments?
Nope.
No. Okay. Now we'll get to the public comments. And after being recognized by the chair, individuals in the audience may address the township board. Speakers must go to the podium, identify himself or herself, limiting their comments to not more than 5 minutes. Typically, there's no interaction back and forth between the boards. It is just your chance to come up and make some public comments. So, yes, now please come up.
Paul Backer, 8851 Lakeview Boulevard, Clarkston. I have a petition that was, I took personally through Sunny Beach 1, which is on the northeast corner of the lake. I have a few signatures that a neighbor of mine has gotten from the south side of the lake, Sunny Beach 2. So I would like to read this, and I would like to turn in these signatures in opposition of the Walters Lake project. This is addressed to Independence Township Board, Planning Commission, and relevant officials. We, the undersigned property owners of Walters Lake, respectfully submit this petition to express our strong opposition to any effort by the township to purchase shoreline property for the purpose of creating a public access point to our private lake. Our lake has long been private, residential body of water maintained and preserved through the collective stewardship of its property owners. The introduction of a public access site, regardless of size, would fundamentally alter the character, safety, and environmental integrity of our community. We oppose this action for the following reasons: increased boat traffic and safety concerns. Our lake is not designed to accommodate high volumes of public watercraft. Increased traffic would elevate the risk of accidents, congestion, and unsafe condition for residents, families, and children who use the lake responsibly and regularly. Number 2, loss of privacy and quiet enjoyment. Property ownership on a private lake carries a responsible expectation of privacy and peaceful enjoyment. Opening the lake to public access would specifically disrupt this environment through increased noise, unfamiliar visitors, and general overcrowding. Number 3, environmental impact. Our lake ecosystem is delicate and has been carefully maintained. Public access increases the likelihood of pollution and littering, introduction of invasive species, shoreline erosion, and habitat disruption. These risks threaten water quality and long-term ecological health. Number 4, property value concerns. The exclusivity and tranquility of a private lake are key factors in property values. Converting even partial access to public use may negatively impact home values and undermine the investments residents have made in good faith. Number 5, precedents for further expansion. Refrain from purchasing any shoreline property for the purpose of public lake access. Preserve the private status and intended use of Walters Lake. Engage directly with lake residents considering any actions that impact the lake. In conclusion, this issue is not simply about one parcel of land. It is about protecting a way of life, a shared environment, and the rights of property owners who have invested in and cared for this for years. We urge the township to respect the concerns of its residents and to seek alternative solutions that do not compromise the integrity of our community. Attached, I have 75 signatures in the immediate community. It's been a short time since I had the opportunity, since the last meeting, to talk to all of the property owners. I'm going to be diligent on gathering more moving forward, but I would like to let you know that out of 64 people that I personally knocked on their door and asked them if they wanted this to turn into a public beach, 64 people. 63 signed, 1 person that owns lakefront property said no. With that in mind, there should be a vote. If you guys want to move forward with this, there's a Walters Lake improvement tax that we pay. And I thought you were the treasurer of that, Terry. And according to the website, there should be a vote amongst all the property owners that actually own property on Walters Lake. It should be our decision if it should move forward, not you 5, 7. It should not be you 7. There's over 500 property owners that have invested in this property. We've paid taxes on this property. We paid for Walters Lake improvement on these properties.
1 minute left, sir.
I believe that if this moves forward, there should be a vote amongst the property owners that have vested interest in this and not you 7.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next. Applause are inappropriate, and so are boos. So, all right, any other public comments?
Norm Freschke, 7199 Deer Lake Court. I didn't see the Deer Lake Beach topic on the agenda from last week, and I just wanted to ask and get an update on that. Does that require a vote from the township board to move forward? Or was the last vote the vote and then it just had to be signed if the language was worked out on the contract by Chuck and Carrie, I think it was? So just to get an update there, if there's a vote required and what the update is. The timing is urgent. This season is upon us. We need to hire the lifeguards. We went through all that last or 2 weeks ago. So the residents should be kept informed on this issue, so that's why I'm asking for an update. Thank you.
Does the board mind if I answer that, address that?
No, please.
Okay, my understanding is that where we're at right now is that it is still going back and forth between the village's attorney and the township's attorney. There's still some liability issues that they're working through. As far as it coming back to the board for a vote, I do not believe that it was required for that to happen.
I don't think so.
And as far as the Parks and Recs director has been said, that we are intending to hire lifeguards for there and everything else. Ultimately, what shape or form, it's yet to be determined, but, so I think the answer is, yeah, I think it's an automatic once it passes the village's council. I don't know if it went through theirs and passed. They had a meeting last night. I've been sick for the last 2 days, so I apologize. I don't know where we're at necessarily with that. But as the conversation today I had with the township attorney is that they were still working out a couple little details on it from a liability standpoint. Any other?
I didn't drop off the signature.
Oh, yeah, please come up.
May I approach?
Yeah, please, just give them to the clerk.
Thank
Thank you. Yeah.
Any other public comments? Any online? No? Any from the board? Trustee Tedder?
Just real quick, want to reiterate, April 18th at Leo's Coney from 8:30 to 9:30-ish. I will be hosting Coffee and Conversation. Want to hear what's on township residents' minds, contemporary issues, future issues, whatever your thoughts are. Again, opportunity to connect. April 18th, 8:30 a.m. at Leo's Coney. Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'm going to close public hearing. We have presentations. Today we have a presentation from our Parks and Rec Director from Michigan Recreation and Parks Association Media Advocate Award for John Elke, and our Parks Director, Lisa Christensen, is going to address this.
Good evening. Tonight I'm honored to formally recognize a very special achievement in our community. Each year, the Michigan Recreation and Park Association, known as MParks, presents a series of statewide awards that celebrate excellence in parks and recreation. These awards highlight the incredible work happening at the local level across Michigan, recognizing individuals, organizations, and partners who make a meaningful impact in their communities. One of those honors is the Media Advocate Award, which recognizes a media professional or organization that has demonstrated outstanding support in promoting parks and recreation, increasing public awareness, and helping connect residents to programs, services, and community experiences. This year, that award was presented to John Elke, station manager of Independence Television, nominated by the team of Independence Township Parks, Recreation, and Seniors. John received this recognition at the annual MParks Conference and Trade Show on March 6th in Lansing, in front of more than 600 parks and recreation professionals from across our state. This is a significant honor, not just for John, but for our entire community. Since 2022, John has been an incredible partner to our Parks, Recreation, and Seniors Department. Through Independence Television, he has transformed how we tell our stories, elevating simple event coverage into compelling, high-quality storytelling that captures the true spirit of our community. John and his team consistently go above and beyond, ensuring that our programs are not only seen, but experienced by our residents. His work has expanded our reach, increased program awareness, and strengthened our community pride. What makes John especially deserving of this award is his personal commitment. He is present, engaged, and deeply invested in showcasing the people, the partnerships, and the moments that define our township. This recognition from MParks reflects the impact of that work, not just within our township, but as an example for our communities across Michigan. So tonight, it is my honor now to formally recognize and congratulate John Elke for receiving the 2026 MParks Media Advocate Award. And John is here.
Thank you very much for this time. I really appreciate the honor. As I've said, upon accepting this, I really just thought I was coming to work to do my job, and it was really nice to be kind of, highlighted in this way. Our staff does a really good job, so as much as I like to, as the face of this organization, our staff works tirelessly to do a lot of programming with not only the parks, the recs, and the seniors. So this is an incredibly I'm very humbled to accept this on behalf of our staff, and thank you very much to Parks, Rec, and Seniors for recognizing us. As I said, it wasn't something that I knew was coming, so it was just we went to work, we did our job, and hopefully did the best we could. So thank you very much for this time. I appreciate it, and thank you everybody for.
And if I may, and if the board would be so willing, I'd like to take a picture with John and the board with his award.
Yeah. I'll come close, girls.
Probably come in front.
Sure. What do you want to do it?
They're going to let me be in the picture too.
Okay, here we go. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna do another one. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Next, we have a resolution of the Senior Community Center Advisory Committee in support of establishing a new senior community center. And for this, we have the Director Lisa Christensen again, and then the SCCAC President William Kuntz, also present to go through this, I believe. Yes?
Bill.
Come on up.
I'd like to introduce the president of our Senior Community Center Advisory Committee, William Kuntz, who will be sharing his presentation tonight with you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
Can we turn those lights down so we could see the board behind you?
Some one of those will do it.
That's more better. Okay. Okay, the purpose of the Independence Township, I gotta get my glasses on. The purpose of the Independence Township Senior Adult Advisory Committee is to advise senior center management and to make recommendations regarding the needs of the senior population in Independence Township, the city of the village of Clarkston, and Springfield Township. Formal resolution supporting development of a new senior community center adopted by the Senior Community Center Advisory Subcommittee, adopted by the Parks and Recreation and Seniors Advisory Committee, and also endorsed by the Friends of the Senior Community Center. And, okay. Anyway, the Senior Committee, Advisory Committee, has been in discussion of a new senior center over the last 2.5 years. It's not something that just popped up in the last month or two. We've had a lot of turnover in the director of the Parks and Rec Committee and whatnot. We would have liked to come sooner, but it is what it is. And from our Senior Advisory Committee, we have formed an ad hoc committee comprising of 2 members of the Parks and Rec Committee and the Senior Advisory Committee. And from that, we have a pretty wide background of talent. We have an architect. We have an individual that has an architectural background. We have Bill Scarborough, who brings his planning expertise. We also have Ron Ritchie, who was a former board member for a number of years. And then you have myself, a 60-year resident of Independence Township and a regular user of the senior center. And from that, we've identified several needs.
Box on the screen. There's that box on the screen. That's blocking what you got, so I'm just gonna get rid of it real quick for you.
Okay.
There we go.
Oh, thank you. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. From that, we developed, we recognized the need. There's a changing population within the township. We're an aging township. Over 40% of our residents are 50 plus, and by the year 2050, it'll be 81% of the population is age 65 or older. The current senior center was built back in the 2010 era. It was added on in about approximately 2015, and probably from both of those dates, it was not satisfactory for its needs or for our use. The design is, it's not a compatible design for seniors. The ADA recommends hallways of at least 8 feet wide to allow 2 wheelchairs to pass simultaneously. And there are several choke points going from the west side of the senior center to the east side. You have to traverse a hallway with 5 or 6 doorways leading into that space. And one of the doorways, the basement door, opens into the hallway itself. And it's blind, there's no window there, so whoever's coming out of the basement doesn't know that someone's in the hallway, and someone walking down the hallway doesn't realize the door opens that way. We also have people with mobility issues. They're using motorized scooters, wheelchairs, and also walkers, plus canes. And these individuals need a little extra room. Further, the building or the main assembly area is not adequate. I shouldn't say it's not adequate. It's not large enough to accommodate what needs to be done. Currently, they're turning away several people that want to participate in some of the programs due to space availability. You are offering programs in 4 different locations, plus the senior center and the carriage house. And we can't, the seniors, or the program cannot be increased due to the size constraints. And that and the fact that you're turning program or people away. And one of your larger programs, and one of the better, more money-making programs, is your travel. The senior center takes in approximately $300,000 a year through their travel programs, and of that, they retain approximately 10% is returned to the township, probably to the general fund or Parks and Rec, I'm not sure which. So that's an area that, that has some potential for growth. And we have an increased demand for the programs, but unfortunately, the center can't accommodate them. Okay, what we need to do is come up with a proactive plan to plan for the long term. And like I said earlier, by 2050, your senior population is going to be 81% of the population within the township. So what does this all mean? It means that we came up with a resolution, which I would like to read. Resolution of the Independence Township Senior Community Center Advisory Committee in support of establishing a new senior center for the Independence Township, Michigan. Whereas the demographic composition of Independence Township shows a growing and significant senior population. According to recent data, more than 1/4 of the township's population is age 60 or older. That's current population. Many seniors live alone on fixed incomes within HUD's low to moderate income limits for Oakland County, facing financial constraints or experience limited mobility. Whereas the purpose of the Senior Community Center is to provide participants ages 50 and over with programs, services, travel, and enrichment opportunities, supporting a healthy and independent lifestyle with over 125 programs offered and over 37,000 participants annually. Whereas the current facility designated for senior services is inadequate to meet the present and future needs of this growing senior population, particularly in pending and providing sufficient space for social, recreational, educational, and community activities. Whereas experience and research show that dedicated senior community centers provide a wide range of benefits for older adults, including enhanced opportunities for social connections and community engagements, helping to reduce isolation and loneliness, which can pose risk to mental and physical health. Programs for health and wellness, such as gentle exercise, balance, flexibility classes, health screenings, and nutritional support, helping seniors maintain mobility and overall well-being. Educational opportunities, digital literacy, training, lifelong learning, and skills development, enabling seniors to remain mentally active and engaged and connected in an increasingly digital world. Volunteer and community service opportunities, allowing seniors to contribute their time and skills to the broader community, increasing their sense of purpose and value. Whereas to serve the needs of a robust senior population, including seniors and mobility or accessibility limitations, a modern senior center must be fully compliant with the Americans with Disabilities Act, ensuring barrier-free access, accessible restrooms, wide doorways, hallways, accessible meetings and gathering spaces, and accommodations for people with limited mobility, visual or hearing impairments, or other needs. Whereas the current facility lacks sufficient capacity for large group events, community gatherings, meals, educational or cultural programming, or intergenerational events, limiting the potential impact and benefit to seniors. Whereas a new senior center should include a large assembly area and a minimal seating capacity for 200 people to accommodate group events, community meals, and social gatherings, presentations, classes, celebrations, and other large group activities, thereby maximizing its utility and value to the senior community and the community as a whole. Come on. Well, there it is. Now therefore be it resolved by the Independence Township Senior Community Center Advisory Committee that we strongly support the planning, design, and construction of a new dedicated senior center in Independence Township to meet current and future needs of the senior population. The new center should be fully ADA compliant and accessible to all seniors regardless of mobility or ability. The facility should include a large multi-purpose assembly hall with a minimum capacity of 200 people, to allow for social, educational, recreational, and community events. The center should be designed to host a diverse range of programming, health and wellness classes, social, recreational events, educational, workshops, volunteer and community service opportunities, intergenerational activities, and support services. The committee recommends that the local government and community stakeholders prioritize funding and community engagement based on input and recommendations from both Parks and Recreation and Seniors, Senior Community Center Advisory Board, and Community and Senior Township residents in site selection and the development process. Be it further resolved that copies of this resolution be submitted to the appropriate municipal leadership and relevant stakeholders, and that the Senior Community Center Advisory Committee stands ready to assist in the planning, process, promotion, and community support, and will help guide, design, and programming decisions to ensure the center best serves the needs of Independence Township. I believe you all received this in your packet. Now, what does the new senior center look like? According to the information we were able to discover, is that what's that? Oh, okay. Anyway, there's a formula that they use. You calculate the number of seniors within a community, age 60 and over. For a community of 40,000 people, ours is approximately 37,000, but anticipating growth, we based it on 40,000. They recommend 4 square feet per person. Obviously, we're not going to build a 32,000, well, anyway, for a 40,000 population, you can anticipate a senior population of between 8,000 and 10,000 people. So at 4 square foot per person, that could be anywhere between 32,000 and 40,000 square feet. Our recommendation is 20,000 square feet. Okay, thank you. And that 20,000 square foot building would require a piece of property of between 2.5 acres and 3 acres. And we have identified a piece of property that the township already owns that would meet the bare minimum of that requirement. 5 acres would be better. And cost-wise, the nearest we could come up with for commercial building costs today is between $260 a square foot and $400 and plus a square foot, which for a 20,000 square foot building would be somewhere between $7 and $12 million. That does not include land acquisition if we had to acquire land, and probably your engineering studies and so on. That would probably be your soft cost, your office, the furnishings for the building, and the building itself. Now, the current yeah, there we go. The added revenue that could be generated from a new center would add greatly to Parks and Rec's funding or programming or whatever. There is not a facility within the township that will handle 200 people for a rental. I know some people like Baycourt. Anyway, I'm not sure that's a 200 person facility. It's very crowded if it is. Okay, as our senior center is supposed to be rated at 100 to 102 people. But by the time you put tables and chairs in there, it's very crowded. And the 200 persons, well, that 200 person would be a recommended area. I can't remember now. But anyway, they recommend round tables rather than card tables or 4 people to a table, because obviously it makes a little better flow of traffic. Okay. And cost-wise, like I say, between 240 and 400 some odd, whatever. Other communities in the area which have built new senior centers in the last 4 or 5 years include Madison Heights, Livonia, Dexter, Traverse City. And we have looked at their layouts and some of them, and the majority of those were all in the 15 to 20,000 plus square foot facilities. And we believe that the residents of Independence Township would deserve something equally as nice or sufficient. With that, I'm gonna close, and I'm gonna give you whatever the measure of a community is measured by how it treats its elderly. And I would like to see us treat our elderly better. Thank you.
Hey, does anybody have any questions? Say what? Oh, okay. Does the board have any questions?
I have one comment. Can I make a comment?
Yeah, go for it.
I just want to reiterate that back in the day when the senior center was operating out of a farmhouse, if the people remember that, a very unsafe farmhouse in Clintonwood Park, that the senior center was created because there was a group put together. Dave Belcher was one of them, the planning director. Charlie Dunn was a trustee, myself, and supervisor at the time, I think it might have been Wagner, recognized that there wasn't a safe facility. So for you that don't know the story, we asked for $250,000 of general fund money, reached out to the public, got donations, community support. We tore down the old farmhouse, built the original senior center that's there now, and then remodeled the carriage house, and did all the infrastructure in the parking lot, all that for $250,000. With the intent that that would never be the senior center. It was just a safer facility. We also intended the addition to be put on, and it was a design for that to happen in the future, but that people call that the senior center, but the intent of that building was a safe place as an interim until we could provide a senior center that was acceptable and to the quality that the township needed. So, you know, that was even a long time ago that we did that. So it's been a long time coming too. That building's exhausted itself as an interim building, and I think that it's a good thing that you guys are putting some effort into this to finally get this thing off the ground. So thank you, Bill. That's all.
Okay, yeah. Any other comments? No, I think that we can all agree that the senior center needs a lot of help, and a new one is probably desperately needed. Thank you for putting this together for us. All right, moving on to the consent agenda. Request to approve the Board of Trustees' regular meeting minutes for March 24, 2026. Request to approve the March 31st, 2026 check run, including ACH, for $1,343,693.60. Request to approve agreement 2026 OPEB service agreement with CBIZ. Request to accept bid 2026-2027 printing service for the Parks and Rec Seniors Explorer magazine. Request to approve Brady Lodge rental with alcohol for Saturday, May 9th, 2026. Request to approve Brady Lodge rental with alcohol Saturday, May 31st, 2026. Can we get a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda is carried. Motion carried. Items removed from the consent agenda, there aren't any. The next, under regular business, we have a request to approve a 2026 sewer maintenance repair and blanket PO for the Oakland County contract number 011676 and cooperative purchasing agreement with Pipeline Management. For this, we have our Director of DPW, David McGee.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
just want to give my personal shout out to John too. I think he did a fine job, and he has been since he's been here. He's quite the guy. Great asset we got there. He's been awesome. Tonight, my agenda item for you is repair to the sewer pipe. It's kind of like this time of year. I've been doing this now for 11 years, and about this time every year I come in front of the board to get approval to do these. For the benefit of new board members, we did a SAW grant, which was a large project we did, and we assessed every piece of sewer pipe that we have in the township that was older than 1993. These pipes were assessed on if they needed repair, if they had cracks or broken, or if they were okay, and they were each given a score. So when that was done, we started our program to repair those. Pipeline Management has been our vendor to do this since I've been here. They have an ongoing contract with Oakland County. We leverage the cooperative purchasing agreement with Oakland County for these repairs, so it's been competitively bid, and we get the same price that the county does, because they do the same thing. Every public sewer system in the state has to do this. We budgeted $250,000 this year for this project, and we're getting close to the end. I did talk, I got some good advice. I'm going to get a number to complete it. Everything that they found that needed some repair based on this SAW grant. In the meantime, we do continue to look at pipe that is newer than 1993. That's part of our CCTV inspections, and more to come on that at a later board meeting. So tonight this is to get approval for Pipeline Management to conduct these repairs on sewer pipes that we discovered that needed some repair through the SAW grant that we did. And if there's any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them for you.
Any questions or comments from the audience? Any questions or comments online? All right, bring it up to the board. Any questions or comments from the board? Trustee Morocco?
Dave, is this going to affect any road closures or any of that in the township that you're doing these repairs?
No, what the good thing about this is all trenchless technology, they call it. So, and I was thinking about this when I was sitting back there. I really need to bring a video and show you how it's done. So they just go down a certain manhole. If there is, it might be a lane closure, if just right by a manhole, as if we were doing routine cleaning. Which they do is they go down, and in this project here, they're doing full-length liners, so they're going from manhole to manhole, so there's over 1,800 feet, and they're doing the whole section of pipe underneath there is getting lined. So essentially, if you imagine a tube sock and you put it inside out, and you put it down in the pipe, and they blow air, and it unfurls itself all the way from end to end, and then they pump air in there and tie it off like a tamale on the end. This is pretty neat. And then they will cure the pipe with ultra UV light. They stick a light down there and they run it down inside the pipe really slow, and it cures the pipe because it's wetted out with like a fiberglass reinforcement. And I just found out today the new pipes that they've been using with the new material, they last 75 to 100 years. So they last a long time. And then they'll send a machine down through there and they'll reestablish all the, if there's any connection points to there. So that's the kind of the overview of how they do it. Very limited. There's no disruption. They don't have to dig holes. They don't have to do anything like that. Everything gets done from the manhole up top, which is outstanding.
Very cool. Any other questions or comments? No? All right. Can I get a motion then for the contract to be awarded, award number 1011676?
I'll move to approve sewer preventative maintenance services available through Oakland County's Cooperative Purchasing Program and Contract number 011676, awarded to Pipeline Management Company Incorporated of Milford, Michigan, for professional services associated with the repair of sewer mains as identified by the Independence Township SAW grant, and for any unforeseen repairs as identified by the Department of Public Works Sanitary Sewer Preventative Maintenance Program, and approve a 2026 blanket order PO for not to exceed amount of $250,000 for payment of these services.
Support.
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Next on the agenda, Trustee Tedder, you were not here at the moment when the call was made. We moved to move M2 up forward. So I need a motion to enter closed session for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion pursuant to MCL 15.268.
I'll make a motion to enter into closed session at 6:45 PM for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion regarding ordinances pursuant to MCL 15.2681H.
Second.
Discussion.
Support. Okay, yeah.
Two of the items that we have on here, the first one, it's regarding the police services operating millage. I looked at it. It's mostly just explaining what our options are, and I don't feel that it's necessary to discuss anything, especially with millages or anything like that in a closed session. I believe all that in the form of sake of transparency that should be discussed in open. There was nothing in there that I saw that was of anything normal than actually a standard memo, and information that could have been brought by the treasurer or the clerk. And the second one, I read it and I understand it, so I didn't need it explained to me regarding ordinances.
Anyone else have any other?
Yeah, I independently came to the same conclusion. I concur. I read the legal opinion. I don't feel it's really necessary to go beyond what was stated. Yeah, with respect to M1, there's no information available. And again, I've asserted in order to support a closed session, I want to have a level of context, and there's nothing provided there.
Anybody else? No. Well, going into closed session for the legal opinion is so that we don't, for the ordinance, is discuss the possibilities and ramifications of those ordinances. Anything that we discuss in the public could be basically setting up we could be laying out a game plan for them to turn around and sue us. So I think it makes sense to discuss this in closed session first to figure out how we want to proceed. And that's the purpose of doing the closed session. As far as the police millage goes, that has been traditionally held in closed session. And so that was the understanding that we needed to handle that in closed session. If we don't want to do it, I don't really care.
Okay, well, the question is we've been served with a lawsuit?
You've been threatened.
Well, we're threatened by a lot
Well,
of
then
things.
let's just go ahead and tell them how to do it properly. Sue us, because I mean, that's what you're asking us to do here. then.
Well, regardless, anybody can sue us for anything. period.
Yep, that's true, but we're gonna
We-
show
we-
them and tell them how they can potentially win.
Well,
So
for
if that's
35
what-
years, we've had the same ordinance.
No, we haven't. That is not true at all. A point of information, that has only been around since 2021, the non-conforming signs. It only came about in 2021. Sam's throwing that right up is wrong. So it's been 5 years, that's it.
Okay, well, I still read the opinion, and the opinion states that we have legal standing for what we're doing.
And we have risk if you read the legal
Well, we
opinion
always
too.
have risk.
Yeah.
And I saw the other risk regarding what the issue was, and that's not even the issue. The issue isn't what is actually.
I don't really care about
Okay.
this sign ordinance
Okay,
thing. I really don't.
Okay.
I just don't want to spend another $50,000 going through this like we did with Pine Knob sign. If the board does not want to go into closed session on it, that's perfectly fine. We can just do it here. And then whoever didn't want to go into closed session can own the fact that if we get sued.
Okay.
So let's just, if there's no other comments, let's just get a roll call. Oh, I'm
I have
sorry.
a comment.
Go ahead.
The reason we have an attorney is to get his opinion. And if he agrees that something belongs in closed session, I'm gonna take that.
And besides that, we also have to vote to waive client attorney privilege to discuss it too. So that is another vote we'd have to do, but we can start with the first one.
Well, I would also like to point out that our attorney just tells us if we are allowed to go into closed session, not if we should go into closed session. That's just his opinion. So we still have the choice whether we're gonna go or not. He just says, are we allowed to? Yes, based on this law, we're allowed to go. Do we have to go? He doesn't tell us what we should be doing unless we're legally bound to do it.
So I don't think that was her point. I think her point was, does it make sense to do it? And being an attorney, and none of us here are attorneys, that's probably why we pay him.
All right, so the short answer is you go into closed session for the purposes of a confidential legal opinion if you need explanation of that opinion. If you have questions with regard to the opinion, that's why you go into closed session. And as I understand the agenda amendment, the only thing we're talking about or taking a vote on is the M2 opinion. So, just to be clear,
Right.
right? And,
Yeah.
and the M1 will come up later in the
Right.
agenda.
Okay.
All right,
Because they were broken out.
does that help? Yeah, maybe not.
Mr. Supervisor.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah,
trustee Tedder.
just since our attorney's up here, I think for my clarification, I think for the clarification of our residents, there are 3 statutory obligations that we go into closed session for, and those are collective bargaining agreements, that pending approval and discussion of monetary matters, human resource matters, and, the last one is,
State and federal statute.
Yeah, there's actually, to be honest with you, there's 8. Now, the
Okay.
most common are, you're correct, collective bargaining, negotiations, pending litigation, a confidential legal
pending
opinion.
litigation, that's what I was thinking
Yeah,
of,
pending
right. That's what
litigation.
I was thinking of.
And then there are matters where employees can request to go into closed session.
Right.
But there are some other exceptions as well that are very rare. But those are the primary, and the purchase of property is probably the most used. So there's about 4 that are the most used.
Thank you.
Yep.
Did you say confidential legal opinion was one
Yes.
of them?
Yes.
So then I have another question, is how come we're just now finding out that we're getting somebody threatened to sue us?
It's because you guys don't even talk. I called you. I sent out the emails telling you what was going on. You didn't respond. You know, so I don't know what you want me to do. You guys are complaining that I'm not communicating, and I sent out these emails to you, and they're part of the package, so everybody can see they've been sent out. And so.
Well, we weren't notified there was a halt on things.
Well,
We
that
weren't
would be a
notified
point
that
of-
there was a legal opinion requested. We weren't given the legal opinion once it was issued. We just got the legal opinion.
So a point of information that is incorrect. What happened is that a legal opinion was requested, true, okay? I don't have to come to the board. If I was the one who requested, I don't have to come to the board to notify you that I'm requesting a legal opinion, okay? The legal opinion was requested. It was received on February 27th. There's only 28 days in February. That was a Friday. I reviewed it on that following weekend, the first week of March. I reached out to the attorney in the second week when it was turned out to be 3 pages long. It was more than I was willing to try to digest myself. Over that time frame, we had several conversations, and by the 27th of March, it was brought to the board that this is what we should discuss. I mean, it's within a month.
We should have been notified of the legal opinion immediately, as soon as it was released.
I
don't
do
know
not
why it
have to
wasn't.
share a legal opinion with you immediately.
Well, you do if we.
No,
Why
I
wouldn't you?
don't.
This isn't a one-man show. This is a 7-man
A
board here.
legal opinion.
I understand
For
that.
operational purposes, does not impact the board. You are out of your lane.
No,
You
I'm
are a legislator.
I
You do not
understand
deal
that.
with day-to-day operations. If there was a procedural change that was gonna result in requiring an ordinance change, then absolutely. And as soon as it came out, I gave my recommendations on what we should be doing based on what I saw. And I sent that to everyone on the board. And all I said was that we should tighten up, and I think I even agreed in there that the legal opinion stated that we did have grounds, okay? But I think the thing we learned from the Pine Knob sign is just because we have an ordinance doesn't mean it's gonna hold up in court. So the ordinance is what we would like to have happen. But it can be challenged in court, and we could lose. I just spelled out that, yes, the legal opinion said that we have grounds, so we stayed on that. And then I said, these are the things that we could look to improve it and tighten it up. These are my recommendations, but we can talk about it like a proper procedure once we're at the board. And this is the opportunity that I wanted to go in closed session to have that conversation about how to deal with it. I mean, it's all right there laid out. Nothing nefarious. Trustee now, Matthew.
Who has the follow-up to prove if someone read their email from you? Because you should be able to look who's even reading some of this, I guess, and if they're not responding, that's on them.
Yeah, I think, well, I know that obviously trustee Hayward, or sorry, not Hayward, Morocco did. But I asked for read receipts and I don't get them. So, I guess they're township emails, so I guess the IT director can go in and look and see if they were actually read or not.
Oh, I read all my emails.
Yeah,
The moment they
I
come
read
out.
all mine as well, and just so you know, I was on spring break with my wife and tried to enjoy my week, so, I've read everything you've sent, and it came, a few days too late. I had already been apprised of this through other channels, so I feel like the effort was disingenuous, so since that's being thrown out there, that's where I feel, the nature of those emails came on the heels of what I'd already become apprised of.
Yeah, so
that's-
what?
that's
Jim, you
my
never
position.
you never do the homework anyways, man. You
Oh,
always say
I-
you're too
yeah,
damn busy.
Yeah,
Now
right.
you're on
Yeah.
vacation and you can't read it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I don't know
why,
what to
that's
tell
why I
you.
ask tough questions
Can I get a
every week.
vote? Let's just do it. I know where it's gonna turn out. Can I get a roll call vote to go into closed session, please?
Trustee Hayward.
No.
Trustee Morocco.
No.
Trustee Nalamathu.
Yes.
Trustee Tedder.
No.
Supervisor File.
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, yes.
Okay, so it defeated. So let's go on to M2. Or I'm sorry, not M2.
Yeah, it's on two.
Is it M? No, it's,
That was M2.
Or L1.
that was M2. So that got defeated. So now we're gonna go to, which is now L3, was L2. So trustee Morocco has requested discussion to seek a writ of mandamus against the supervisor's office. This is because he has a misconception that I have stopped some things. But I will let him go through and give the background on this.
I don't want to get into the whole ordinance thing on that point. My issue is more on procedure. Can you not hear me?
Pull that mic.
Hello? Okay. I wrote a lot of stuff down and I want to read it so I get it right. This is very important stuff. I don't take it lightly. I don't want to, I'm just going to read it so I can get it right. I want to be clear that I did not want this matter dragged into the public. We already appear to be a very dysfunctional board for a variety of reasons, and I have no interest in adding to that perception. My goal is to simply to ensure we are operating within the proper legal framework and follow processes required of us. It's become a problem for me and other trustees that we consistently are left out of the loop on significant matters affecting the township, and many of which are initiated by the supervisor's office. This pattern makes it difficult for the board to function effectively and undermines our ability to carry out our responsibilities as elected officials. This request may seem excessive. I wrote down what Dan said. I think Dan used the word hyperbole, and that this, and I agree. I went excessively on this because I wanted the point to be made, and I tried not to go out in the public, and then when it had to, and I'll explain to you why I went to this extreme, but it's necessary to reinforce a fundamental point. Our township is not a corporate hierarchy, and the supervisor is not the CEO. He is one member of a 7-member board with no unilateral authority to suspend or alter ordinance enforcement. His role includes certain administrative duties, and those duties do not grant him independent policymaking power. Any change to enforcement practices must come to the majority vote of the board in a public meeting and only after proper notice. This particular situation came as a complete surprise to me, and I made every effort to resolve it directly through dialogue with the supervisor. Unfortunately, those attempts were not successful, which left me with no choice but to bring the matter to the board's attention, which I did first. Before I explain what I uncovered, I want to acknowledge the supervisor does have limited latitude to temporarily pause enforcement on an ordinance when the township is facing an imminent legal threat and needs time to obtain a legal opinion. That is not the issue I have, okay? However, the length of this pause far exceeds any reasonable time frame for review, action, and communication. At minimum, the board should have been notified immediately of the alleged legal threat he is now citing as the basis of this decision, and that did not occur. In fact, this pause has been in place since the end of January, during which time he has had multiple opportunities to inform the board of this supposed threat and did not do so. We've had several board meetings and a closed session since this happened, and I want to explain why this came up and how I tried to keep it in-house and how that exploded and I was unable to do so. It all started, I've been working on the sign ordinance since the early 2000s. We've been taking these elevated signs down. The board did an aggressive, relatively, it might have been aggressive at that time. Now it's more standard for other communities to get these high elevated signs down to the ground. And we've had success for it. I talked to Dick Carlisle. He reiterated to me he has no knowledge of the township ever being sued over this ordinance as written. Now, in 2020, we did an extensive ordinance review of the signs because of the Supreme Court case on content review, and also the digital message change boards was all reviewed in very high detail at that time, and all of that was reviewed by our lawyers at the time, and everything, as Dan reiterated in his legal opinion, was enforceable, but of course had risk. Everything you do has a risk of somebody threatening to sue you. That's just part of doing business. So what happened is I was in the township on business, and I happened to pop into the building and planning department to get an update on the sign enforcement, which I had been involved with. I asked the deputy director who was in the office what was going on with a couple of particular signs that are on Dixie Highway in the DDA district where I'm on the DDA. I was informed by him that there was a pause put on enforcement to seek a legal opinion. So the following day, I contacted the director of zoning and planning, his boss, to confirm that that in fact had happened and that this did go on. So I left a message for the supervisor that afternoon. He called me back the next morning at like 8 a.m. on Friday to respond to my call. We had a lengthy discussion about this and whether or not I thought it was it in violation of state law or not, and whether we were opening up a can of worms on whether we were selectively enforcing or not, and not consistently enforcing the ordinance. So that was at 8 in the morning. About 12 or 1 in the afternoon, the supervisor sent out an email letting the board know that that was the first we had heard, that we were being threatened with a lawsuit, and that he had, he had requested that the board, in a future meeting, direct the zoning department to pause aggressive enforcement. To note, our enforcement isn't aggressive, it's the ordinance as written. There's nothing more aggressive about it. And my concern at that point was that this now became public, and I believe it's because I brought it up, and then found out that this had originated in the beginning of January, at the end of January, early February, and now it was the end of March. So when he sent that out, his reasoning for it and requesting us to possibly do a pause on the ordinance, it didn't mention that the ordinance had already been paused. And that was concerning. So I felt compelled to notify the township board that I didn't feel we were any longer operating under state law, and that there was no intent to continue enforcement at this time by the supervisor, that I had requested that in our personal phone conversation, and actually thought that he was just going to call Dave and tell him to do it, but it didn't happen. So I requested in my email that he immediately, so I let all the board know this was going on, and I requested in my email that he send an email to the Director of Planning and Zoning and CC all board members to engage enforcement again, and that we all be CC'd so we knew that that clock had been ticking, that we were back on track. That did not happen. Instead, the supervisor sent an email with a summary of the legal opinion that was provided, and a new explanation that he hadn't found out.
Point of information, that's not correct. You're getting it backwards. The email that I sent with originally for the information and a summary of the legal opinion occurred on that Friday.
Okay.
We had that conversation that Friday morning. That email came out that
Okay,
Friday.
okay, I'm referring to the timeline email, I'm sorry. I'm
Yep,
referring
that's a
to it as
different
the
one.
summary email, but, so a follow-up email came out, which was a summary email that, that was sent, explaining to the board the timeline of now our dialogue, what's happening, somebody threatening to sue us, all of that. But in that email, and this is what kind of pushed me over the edge a little bit, was that it said that he had just found out in mid-March that the enforcement had been paused, but he did agree with the pause due to the situation. But it didn't say who put on the pause, or if there was any disciplinary action or any action taken to the person who then did put on the pause if it wasn't himself, and that the enforcement was stopped without approval. So at that point, I contacted the building director and said, I'm running out of time to put this on the agenda because I'm concerned that we're still not in compliance. And I don't have an issue with the sign ordinance. I don't have any questions about it, and I don't want it reviewed because I've already went through all that in 2020, and we've already done this exercise, and we've been very successful with this ordinance. And I felt that it was going to put us at risk to even have this conversation tonight, like somehow we're questioning this ordinance that has been in place for so long. So that, I then confirmed that we still weren't in compliance when the deadline came for me to put it on the meeting. And that's when I made the decision that, okay, now there's a question of who stopped it, how long it's been stopped, has it still been engaged, and how, you know, what's all going on with this, because I still feel like we're not following state law and we're not in compliance. The pause has exceeded its limitation. In my
Point of order,
opinion.
there's no limitation on a pause.
Okay, well, we all have our own
Well, the
opinions
state law,
of
you
it,
keep on saying state law. There is not a state law that says there's a limitation time frame
for the supervisor to put a pause on an
for any
ordinance.
pause on an ordinance. There is not a state limitation on it.
Okay. I don't want to argue about it. I would like to know, who is, is there any relationship to the person making this claim? My concern is that somebody comes in and threatens us for a lawsuit, and the legal opinion says it's defensible. It's never been challenged. We've never lost to it. Why would we want to weaken our ordinance to open us up to not finishing the project? We've been on this project to lower these elevated signs. We're down to 17 of them. We've been doing it for decades. They're coming down. It's been very successful. And I just don't understand why it even came up, why it's discussed. I don't even, to this day, have any proof that we're still enforcing it. And there's no legal opinion saying that it's unenforceable. So that's my biggest concern is, my MAVE had two things on it. Obviously, the second one is the more logical one, that, in my opinion, that the board takes action, directs the planning and zoning department to do their job, and the ordinance doesn't need to be reviewed. There's nothing wrong with it. It's stood its test of time. It's defendable. And it's simple math on how these things work. If somebody wants to spend $50,000 suing the township instead of spending $10,000 complying on their sign, that's their choice to make that determination. But I can tell you, as a board member who's been involved in sign compliance for over 20 years, that if you go back and talk to anybody, every board, every planning person, Dick Carl, everybody, we're going to defend this ordinance, and we're going to appeal it, and we're going to fight it to the end. We're not going to bow down because somebody doesn't want to comply, when every other person in this township that has been compliant has spent tens of thousands of dollars to comply, and that was my concern about bringing this up. There is no question about it. We have the legal right to have these signs brought to the ground. I don't believe there's a problem with the First Amendment right, because we're not regulating content, we're regulating height. We already went through that whole discussion when we approved the sign ordinance in 2020, and nothing in that legal opinion said anything to the contrary, other than there's always risk when you try to enforce an ordinance. So I think, yes, this is extreme, but it's frustrating for me because I tried to fix the problem, but for some reason, and I think the supervisor can explain what is the issue what is the issue with this ordinance, and why would we go through this exercise? And why was it paused?
Okay,
Just because someone threatened to sue us?
because in 2023, I believe the U.S. Supreme Court said that you cannot regulate content on a sign that requires you to read it. The only pause was on 2 signs. There was only 3 in motion at the time. 2 signs were paused for the exact same scenario, where the content of the lettering was being the justification for tearing it down, telling them that they had to take the sign down. Well, that problem is that the Supreme Court's freedom of speech that came in 2023, so if you stayed up on the legal part of things, you might have said, okay, I can see where he might be coming from on this, and say, okay, maybe we don't want to go down this road, or maybe we want to tighten our ordinances up. To me, at the end of the day, that was the driving force. It is still in force for all other aspects of it. If they go through and do a dimensional change, if it's abandoned, if it needs repairs, none of that was stopped. None of that was paused. It was strictly in the 2 signs that had the name placard changed out that said, let's get the legal opinion on that and find out if that's true based on the 2023 federal Supreme Court ruling that you cannot justify it by freedom of speech, which means you cannot look at it and make the determination. You both made, and I say both, because I think one was brought forward by Hayward and one was brought forward by you, Trustee Morocco. It was a function of reading. So that's why I got the legal opinion. Anyone who would be sitting in my chair who would want to make sure that they're doing the right things by the township, not putting us in a bad position, would ask for a legal opinion. That's the answer for the legal opinion. Before we got too far down the road, I wanted to make sure that we were not going to do this. So that's why the pause. Okay? Again, it's been a month, maybe a month and 2 weeks. The last board meeting we had ran until midnight. Okay? And on top of everything else, in the last 5 years, 5 signs have been changed out that are these tall signs. 2 of them were in the parking lot in the building next to yours. The other 2 were abandoned signs, which are the Curtis Kitchen and the Elias Brothers Big Boys. And the other one was because they redid that whole gas station, and we used that opportunity to take the sign down. It's not about whether to take the sign down or not. It's about whether or not, are we going to win? Are we going to be able to not have a big legal bill and fight on top of it? That's why I went down that road. At the end of the day, I just wanted to have this conversation with the board because I believe it's my responsibility to point out the strengths and the weaknesses of what our ordinances are. They are not static. Things keep changing. Again, it was a 2021, this non-conforming sign ordinance came into play. 2023, the Supreme Court ruling directly impacted our ordinances. So all I cared about doing was bringing it to the board, let the board understand, and if the board did not want to send this back to the Planning Commission to get, which is probably the right path, back to the Planning Commission to tighten it up, then so be it. I don't believe that I would want to engage and enforce something that could put us into court. I think the taxpayers are done with us spending a bunch of money on sign ordinances that we lose.
Well, I guess I would say that we have a legal opinion and it says it's enforceable. Why are we
No,
still
he said
talking
it's
about it?
defensible. He didn't mean that we would win. Okay, and so at the end of the day, you can make all sorts of determinations, right? And so I don't really, honestly, I don't even care. That's the funny thing about all of this. I don't care. Okay, you are the one that has a big issue about signs, and I appreciate that. I do appreciate it because it does enhance the character of our township. So I'm 100% with it.
Okay.
But I don't really care. There's no hidden agenda, no motive here, other than I want to make sure that if we're going to go down this road, we all understand the liability and the risk, especially given the 2023 Supreme Court ruling. At that point in time, if everybody on the board or a majority of the board says let's do it, then fine, let's go forward and do it. I don't really care. But I don't want to be in a situation where we go to court and all of a sudden this whole freedom of speech argument comes up, we lose, then next thing you know, we'll be sitting up here and you guys will be pointing the finger at me and saying, well, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you tell us it was a possibility that we could lose based on this? Okay? That's why I'm sitting there doing it in the order that I'm doing it, which is extremely logical and progressive. As far as who put the pause into place, I'm not going to get into names. I can just say that when I was informed that they went out and asked for a legal opinion and they explained the reasons why to me, I said, yep, that makes sense to me. Let's get the answers before we deal with these 2 signs. That's that. And we went a little bit out of order on how to do this thing here, right? So, any questions or comments from the public? Yeah, please, come up.
I have a quick question. Not this is.
It's got to be related to this topic,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, please come up, give your
I don't
name.
have a sign, it has nothing to do with me.
Okay.
My question is,
Your name, please.
Name and
Bob
address.
Ayotte, 8795 Lakeview Boulevard, 8803 Lakeview Boulevard. My question is, if you've already made all these people take down the signs because of this 2021 thing, and then you don't make these guys take down the signs, don't you think you're gonna be sued by all those other people that you made
Now,
take
one
down
of the
signs?
cases where they, a result of this, they didn't fall into this scenario.
Okay. Just, you're trying to avoid
Right,
litigation.
well, so am I.
I'm just saying,
That's why we kept the other
like, if I
enforcement
had a
going.
sign and you made me take it down, and then you didn't make somebody else take it down,
I agree. That would be a problem.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we're all over the place tonight. I apologize, man. I'm not feeling that great, and so I feel like I'm losing control a little bit here.
Yeah, Joe
I'll get back to you.
Playstick, 6116 Timberstone Way. You're right, this board is dysfunctional. This is my second or third meeting, but sometimes this dysfunction proves some good discussion and some good, banter back and forth. I agree this should have been brought out in the open, but I also agree that our sign ordinance, however much time was put into it, maybe needs to evolve. Maybe we should check on some sign ordinances from Hilton Head or Birmingham or that are, have changed with the times. Maybe that's something we need to take a look at. Maybe our sign ordinance is buttoned up. Maybe it's a solid state, and then it might not need to change, but that's all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have to say my name?
Yeah, yeah.
Joette Coons, 9740 Reese Road. As I sat here and heard, and I will tell you, I wish you would all use your mic a little bit better, because I'm sitting at the back this time. It's a little bit harder to hear. I thought I heard Trustee Morocco talk about height of signs, but I heard you talk about content of signs. So what is the issue?
The issue is that somebody changed out, in one scenario, the individual had multiple slots because he had a multi-tenant building, and he changed out one of the slots for a new tenant and put in a new sign. The slot didn't change the dimensional variance at all, just put in the new tenant's name. The other one was almost exact, even less, is that the person just put the name Douglas on it, on the sign, and all the rest of the content stayed exactly the same. So they're all set dimensionally exactly the same. It was just the text on the placard changed.
So was that original sign that they changed too high, and when you change
Oh,
it,
yeah, it
you
was
have to go
non-conforming
down?
at the time. It was
Yeah.
non-conforming at the time, yes.
Yeah, so we are not talking about content, we're talking about height. Is that what we're talking about?
No, we're talking about the fact that because it's non-conforming, if they change it, the
Then you have-
definition of change means they have to take it down.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
So it is nothing about 2023 content.
Yes,
It is
that's-
about, no, it's not, it's about height.
Are you
And-
an attorney now?
Well, I've had a few law classes, but I will tell you that once you change things, just as we do in our house, if I put ceramic tile in my house versus plastic tile, then, I'm open to a lot of things. So I think it's height that you're talking about. Now, maybe he changed it, but, he needed to know the rules. We all live by rules.
Excuse me,
I'm gonna-
can I answer that?
Can I let?
Go ahead.
I was gonna let Hayward go
Yeah,
first.
No,
Sure.
I was just going to state that the ordinance states that if you change your sign, and if it's not a sign that's designed to be changed, like the letters, or, you see a lot of signs, like McDonald's, I believe, has one where they can change the letters, that's considered a changeable sign. Once the sign is up there and it's fixed, that's not a changeable sign. Once you make that plastic down, and it says right in the ordinance, very clear, once you change that sign, you've got to lower it. We don't regulate the content of what's in those signs. We just tell you, you have to lower it. Nobody said you have to change the face of it. The requirement is to lower it.
Right.
That's it.
So the panel change, which Dave is referring to, was the trigger that was put in the ordinance. So if you change the panel on a sign that's not designed to have the panel changed, i.e. with the little black letters on the suction cup thing. If it's not that kind of a sign and you change the panel with the name on it, you now have to comply with the ordinance. Now, Independence Township took that path back in the day. I do not agree it was in 2020. It goes way back farther than that in my memory, and I was on the planning commission in '03. But regardless of the trigger, the issue with that is that if you change the panel, the sign needs to come into compliance. That's the thing. Now, other townships, I know Washington Township, when they did it, they just put a time limit on. In 5 years, every elevated sign in the township's got to come down, period. Like, that's a even more aggressive way to do it, where we said, if your business stays the same and your sign stays the same, like the bowling alley, like, you know, Beaumont Chevrolet and all those, that the sign is able to stay as long as the business stays. But when that changes, that was the trigger, and that's always been the trigger, and we've never lost or been sued over that trigger. It's not what's on it, it's that the panel was changed, that the names might have been painted different on it, but we're not interested in what the words were on it. We're interested in the fact that the sign was modified by changing the panel of it. And the two signs that were next door to the building he's referring to for me on Dixie Highway, where the print shop is, and that used to have giant elevated signs until recently. He changed tenants, he complied, he took the two huge overhead signs down and then put a monument sign by the road that has 6 feet high. Our goals and objectives of the master plan of the township has been for decades to get rid of these elevated signs. With the DDA especially trying to revitalize Dixie Highway, we're spending millions of dollars on Dixie to change the streetscape. These signs that are in question are in the Downtown Development Authority and Dixie Highway. It's imperative to our plan that this stays in compliance and we continue with our goals and objectives. We're down to the last 17 of them in the township to get everybody's ground signs on the ground. And according to Dan's opinion, we have a right to ask that, to put a trigger on it, and to ask for those signs to come into compliance when that happens. And we've never been challenged or lost. And if someone wants to take us to court over it, we'll just have to deal with that. But the last phrase is, is it worth the risk to protect the character of the community and continue with our goals and objectives to have all the signs come into compliance in the township? And my answer is yes. And that's why I don't want us to look at it. I don't want the planning commission, which I'm the liaison to look at it. We've done that. We did it. It's been done. We have a legal opinion, another one, Dan's, 2 of them on that, and there's nothing saying that, other than there's always risk that would tell us that we would deviate from those goals and objectives from not just this board, the board before that board, and the board before that board, and all the planning commissioners before that, and all the master plans before that. It's a thing the township's been working on for a long time, and we're not gonna give it up because somebody says, oh, I'm gonna sue if I have to take my sign down. Well, then sue and see how you do. You know, that's my opinion as a board member. I'm willing to take that risk for the residents.
Yeah, it's not your money.
Well,
Can I get Dan up here, please? State your name, attorney.
Oh, I'm sorry, Dan Kelly, Township Attorney.
Dan, let me ask you a question. First and foremost, do I possess the right to pause something pending a legal review?
Yes.
Okay. So the whole breaking the law thing is not a thing?
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
It's not a thing.
Okay. Just to be clear on that point.
is there a time limit, Dan? Is it forever? Without
You
the
know,
board
that's
knowing?
that's a policy decision that you guys have argued both ways here tonight. And there's no law that says it's got to be 30 days, got to be 3 days. So
Forever is okay?
I didn't say that.
Okay.
Okay, the next thing is that, does the Supreme Court decision of 23 impact our ordinance, or our interpretation of our ordinance?
Let me just say this. I don't think it's a good idea to be talking about the ultimate opinion of the legal opinion.
Well, they decided
It
they
was
didn't want to.
appropriate to ask for this opinion. And I don't think anybody disagrees with that. There was a very significant case, the Reed case, that talked about the enforcement of sign ordinances. We addressed it in the opinion, and we gave some advice with regard to that concern, and we identified it as a concern. So I'm not quite sure when this ordinance went into effect. There's been some debate. It doesn't say the date of adoption or how long it's been in place, but it is a legitimate concern to address Reed if it hasn't previously been addressed with regard to this ordinance, and that's what we did. Part of what our opinion did that.
To your best of your knowledge, had that court case been addressed for our ordinance prior to me reaching out?
I don't know that it has been. Now, I was not code enforcement until about a year ago,
Right.
and I think I've been general counsel for about 3 or 4 years, 3.5 years. So if it was addressed previously, I don't know that. Okay?
Good. All right, I'm good. Support, have any other questions for Mr. Kelly?
I have my comment, just to clarify how people are understanding this. Because of what the Supreme Court said, changing that face, when it is just a word or adding a name, is content. So you are opening yourself up. I don't know why people don't understand that. And you didn't want to discuss this with Dan to go over that, to get his reasoning, which he said, right now, I don't suggest discussing it out in the open. So this is gonna end tonight with you thinking that you're right, and him thinking that he's right, and the rest of us can't even discuss what we want to because you don't want to go in the closed session. So I'm not gonna open us up to a lawsuit by anybody. And if you're willing to take the risk, so be it. I'm gonna call that on you two.
But Terry.
And I just want it on the record, that
know
I'm
that.
willing to go to closed session. I'm fine opening the ordinance. I was here going through it when you were here last. So I don't know if it's a thing like, I worked on the ordinance, I don't want anyone to change it because my name's part of it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a power trip. What is the big deal about trying to protect ourselves? I don't get it.
We got a legal opinion that says that we can defend it, which every other meeting, you're like, we got lawyers, let's listen to the lawyers. Now we don't want to listen to the
No,
lawyers.
you said
know?
you can defend it.
We can
Doesn't mean
defend
you
it,
can't win.
and I was part of the sign ordinance, and I know that we had legal discussions. We talked in detail about the Supreme Court thing. This is just
When?
No,
when we did the ordinance.
There was 21. The Supreme Court case didn't come out to 23. You couldn't have done them at the same time.
There was a Supreme Court thing
No.
before 23.
No. Please cite it. Well, if you're gonna keep throwing stuff out, Sam, you gotta get your facts straight.
I think that you guys are just making stuff up to stop the ordinance and stop whoever this guy is and get him to not comply. And you're going against everything the township's worked for on the fact that maybe some guy's gonna sue us. You are erasing the work and energy and legal opinions and of all the planning commissions prior to this, the boards prior to this and everything, because you don't like the idea. There's no, if he thinks he's got a case on content which goes against what Dan's legal opinion says, then let him sue us over it. You guys want the legal opinion, we got a legal opinion, it's defensible. What more do you, there's no legal opinion on any ordinance that we wrote that's not going to say there's risk of somebody suing you over it. That is just to govern, because you're scared of being sued, and you know how many times I can remember the township being sued since I've been involved since '03? Not many, if any, ever. But every board makes their decisions based on maybe someday we're gonna get sued. Well, you know what? We haven't been. I can't
Yes, we
even
were.
remember.
We were sued by Pine Knob and we lost.
Pine Knob was a problem with the zoning board of appeals,
That's
which
still the
again, you're
township.
misleading the
No,
residents.
it's still the township.
okay, can I please finish my
The zoning board of
thought?
appeals granted a variance on an ordinance, which has nothing to do with what we're talking about. You're just using talking points that are irrelevant.
okay.
That's different than,
Trustee now, Matthew.
Just because nobody sued us, and I said this before, doesn't mean that nobody will, and it takes just one, and I don't want to be part of that group. And second of all, if you're so worried about this, why don't you make your ordinance that, if you're so worried about Dixie Highway, and your work there, why don't you change the ordinance and we talk about it, doing it in the time frame like the other township was that you were so happy?
Because we don't need to, Terry, because we
Well-
already did it, and the board's all adopted it, and the planning commission's operating it. Just a couple of you want to throw a wrench in the fire. Everyone else who's educated on the ordinance is fine with it. The lawyers are fine with it, the planning commission's fine with it, the consultants are fine with it, but the people who don't understand it, who need clarity on it, are the ones who have a problem with it. So why don't you listen to professionals who have more experience than you do on it, and then the stuff that you know about, we'll listen to what
Okay.
you want to
Why
do.
don't
Yeah, you're getting
Yep.
personal here.
Yeah, let's,
So second of all, I asked you a question. You liked the township that said we wanted everybody to conform in 5 years. Why don't you change ours then if you're so worried about your Dixie Highway Development Authority and come up with a time frame to do it?
It doesn't need to be, we have a
You
mechanism.
just said there's 17 more signs to do it with.
Yeah, and we're allowing that latitude to the people who have it to be grandfathered in so that we're not overreaching and just mandating they come down, which we could do, which would erase all of content. We would just say, everyone has to take their signs to the ground. That's
Okay,
not
okay.
what I'm proposing. That's what you're
We're
proposing.
repeating ourselves, so,
It's ignorant.
I just have a couple questions. How
trustee.
long, can you tell me how long the pause has been on?
I became aware of it in, probably the middle to the early March.
You became aware of the pause in the middle to early March?
I was told end of February, is what I was told by the planning and zoning department. And
Well,
that's when the inquiry was
Is-
made.
is the
All right,
pause still
can I
on?
get
Oh, I
Director
just-
Moran up here, please?
Oh, I was just, okay.
Let's just get it, I mean, you know.
Okay.
Director Moran, how are you?
Good. Good evening.
Let me ask you a couple, I think, pointing questions, and you'll probably get a couple more.
I'll try to
Did
answer.
I ever instruct you or your department to put a pause on any ordinance enforcement?
No, sir.
Not one?
Not one.
Not even in the last year and a half I've been here?
No, sir.
Okay. Did your department put on the pause, initiate the pause?
No, sir.
Okay. How did we get to this pause state?
Well, there was a discussion about, actually, I was on vacation the week of the 10th, I think it was the 10th of March, and there was some discussion about the two signs that were in question. And at that time, there was some clarity issues that we couldn't answer. Whether or not if the one sign that did have a change, could the owner change it back without a violation? So that was something that we needed clarity about. So the other sign, I don't know all the details, and that was something that Chad was working code enforcement on. But there's other things, there's not just the signs. I mean, there's a multitude of different issues when it comes to our zoning where we may pause because we need clarification, or if it's weather-related, or we need information from the county road commission or the state. You look back at even the chicken ordinance. How long did we pause that for? 10 months? Nobody said a word about it. I can think of other instances where zoning ordinance items are paused, and it's for good reason, and it's clarity, and it avoids other issues that crop up if we make split decisions or try to follow our own interpretations of the zoning ordinance. You can go to the code of ordinances, and up and down that whole code of ordinances are outdated information. And this can go on and on and on with discussion. The fact of the matter is, we're talking about two signs. And it's a minimal situation where, are we gonna force these people without the clarity of understanding why we're doing it? And the questions that came about were, we don't know. But this is no different from a lot of other ordinances that we put pauses on. I don't always go to Supervisor Fowl or previous supervisors to get clarity as a building official and an authority having jurisdiction in this township. I make decisions unilaterally about the ordinances. Nobody's ever questioned it. So I'm not really clear about why this is such a big deal tonight, whether it's procedural or otherwise, because we pause a lot of different zoning ordinances for clarity. So
You know, I'm not sure if that gives you a straight answer to what you're looking at, but I want the general public to know that this is not unusual. And again, an extreme situation, the chicken ordinance, I mean, there's just, you know, you can go up and down. I made some notes on some of the other issues too, but I don't want to take any more time because I want to, you know, be specific to the sign issue and remind people that it's only 2 signs and it's a temporary pause. This isn't going to go on forever. Now that we've got the clarity, we can move forward.
Okay, well, the clarity came a month ago. What are we waiting on?
No, it hasn't been a month.
Well, I don't believe I appreciate you getting dragged up here. I don't believe everything that you're saying, but I'm not going to throw other people under the bus that work for the township. That was not my position that got me to this place, and that's irrelevant. I know where the problem lies.
Okay, so Sam, you're just, okay.
But,
Let's
you know,
get a motion.
Yeah,
Thank
let's
you.
get a motion to,
Yeah,
to enforce the ordinance as written.
I'd like to say 30 seconds worth.
Sure.
I've done a lot of
This is
listening
gonna be a
here.
new,
Pardon me?
this is gonna be new data?
Yeah, it's gonna be my commentary, just like others have offered the same.
Okay.
So, first and foremost, I wanna thank Trustee Morocco for bringing this to the forefront, because it is April the 7th. That opinion was February the 27th, and I firmly believe that, and this isn't a court, I don't need a smoking gun. I just know, serving with this board, this dynamic, that over the past 16 months, there's been a lack of, for many of us, a lack of trust in what is being represented by our supervisor on many fronts. And I do believe in my heart of hearts, this could have been paused for months without board acknowledgement. Those members of Walters Lake experienced that last week when I was the first I heard of this proposal and purported ignorance on this 6-day notice to get in a natural resources trust fund, a grant. And so likewise, I'm thankful that this was brought up because I don't believe it would have been reconciled. Likewise, I don't believe the supervisor has sought a problem, in search of a solution or whatever, however the expression goes, but that, again, this has been successfully enforced, as have our other ordinances. And so I'm perfectly comfortable in having read the legal opinion. I'm perfectly comfortable in knowing these details. And like Trustee Morocco, I have a heavy heart for some of our staff members because I'm hearing 2 conflicting pieces of information. And I am of the opinion that said pause came from the top. And while that is certainly something you have, as we discussed, you have some latitude in doing, extending it, perpetuating it for potentially weeks, if not months, is problematic for me. And so I'm thankful that this was brought before us. I think that it's important for us to get back to enforcing our ordinances and move beyond another distraction.
Okay. We have 2 motions on here. One is to move to direct the township attorney to draft a proper document to file a writ of mandamus against the township supervisor to mandate he perform his duties per township ordinance and procedures and state law to be reviewed at the next available board meeting. And this is a simple majority, but I would like a roll call vote, please, Madam Clerk.
I don't know.
Oh,
who
was it
made
second?
that motion.
Pardon me?
Who's made that motion yet?
I just made it. I can make a motion.
You don't need to make it.
I think we do. It's,
No, okay.
why do you think not?
I would think that the motion should be made that we just go back and enforce the ordinance and we don't hire legal counsel to sue ourselves over it if you're willing to instruct the building department to go back and enforce the ordinances as written. We don't need to go down that road.
So
That's
would
why
you-
motion B is the exit motion of just get back to business and let's move on from this thing. That's the motion I would make.
So he had the motion on there, how do we,
We don't, it's just a suggested motion.
okay, so we don't have to, so we're gonna basically ignore it, okay.
Well,
All right.
I'll-
Do you rescind your motion?
I rescind my motion.
Okay.
Well, I'll move to authorize the board to direct the zoning enforcement staff to resume enforcement immediately and adhere to the established state law and township procedures.
Support.
Do a roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Trustee Morocco?
Yes.
Trustee Alamothu?
Yes?
Trustee Tedder?
Yes.
Supervisor File?
Yes?
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Trustee Hayward?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. So you guys know what to do now, right? All right. Next item would be the closed session to discuss confidential legal opinion for the police service operating millage.
I'll make a motion to enter into closed session at 7:41 PM for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion regarding police services operating millage pursuant to MCL 15.2681H, and authorize Renee Herbert, budget analyst, to participate in the discussion.
Second.
Can I get a roll call, Madam Clerk, please?
Yes, you can. Hold on 1 second. Supervisor File.
Yes?
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Trustee Hayward.
No.
Trustee Morocco.
No.
Trustee Alamothu.
Yes.
And Trustee Tedder.
No.
Motion failed.
Okay, I guess we're done. With that, so I don't know how we're gonna get that onto the, down to the state, but,
Can't we talk about it?
no,
It's not on the
it's not on the agenda.
Well, we put it on the agenda.
The agenda's already been approved.
Well, we don't have any information to go into closed session, if I may say. I was hoping that we would know, like, and I don't know why it would be held from the public, because I know some communities do millage talks in public, and some people do it in private. You can go either way. But I haven't been provided any information, and I'm not opposed to the millage. We need to cover our costs, and the county fees are going up and up. I don't think it needs to be a secret to the people. They know the county's been violating us on pretty much every service they've been providing, and increased the police, by 30%, and the dispatch and all that. So I think it's relatively a simple discussion, because I know it's time sensitive, and we need to get this on the next agenda so we can be on the August ballot. But I think we just, I think we could blow through it pretty easy if you guys just tell us how much money do we need to cover the additional costs of the county, expenditures, and what do you think the millage rate would be? I don't,
Depends on what option we go with. There's multiple options,
Well,
and that's why we
right,
want to discuss this.
but
in
all
closed
those
session.
options would affect the people's taxes, so I don't know that we wouldn't want, that I barely understand all of the Hadley rollback at talk and all of that, that I've been involved in, and I don't know how many of the public do, but I think we can I would rather we just come up with a number, a millage that we think's gonna make sure that we're covered if the county does anything crazy, or just a little bit of fluff on there because they're so unpredictable, and then just, let's get it on the ballot.
So this closed session was to deal with the language of the millage, not the numbers. And you had that information in your packet.
Well, he gave us 3 examples of how we could do it, but there was no documents to back it up.
Yeah,
That was gonna be provided in closed session by the budget analyst.
Right, but again, it's helpful to digest that information before walking into a closed session where we don't have any time to properly review the information. I think it is critical that we have supporting documents, as we have historically. Is in the board-only section, we have supporting documents for closed session that serve as supporting documents to go into closed session, so I don't walk in and thumb through a bunch of pages ill-informed. I think that's a disservice to not only to myself, but to the more importantly, our residents. And I don't think it's this is the 3rd time I've brought it up personally, that I believe our best work is done in the public, but where absolutely necessary, we have to go into closed session. I want supporting documents before walking in, so I know what I'm being asked to evaluate, because for the benefit of the public, while it does require a supermajority to go into closed session, it's only a simple majority to come out of closed session and just rubber stamp a decision. So it's a protectionary measure that's in place for a reason, and that's my position.
Trustee now, Matthew.
So in terms of what you just said, it's not okay to go into closed session, actually listen to the budget analyst and our attorney discuss those options, but it's okay for trustee Morocco to just have us talk about it here really quick and make a decision. You still don't have those documents.
I didn't say
Well,
that either. Did you hear
okay.
that out of my voice? No, in my mouth? No, you did not, respectfully.
What was the
I'll
motion?
admit, I don't understand it enough to have it handed to me and then make a decision within 5 minutes. That's just not my forte. It's not what I do. And I would have appreciated it, so I could
You
have
wouldn't have
called,
understood
I could have
it.
called Renee and asked questions and stuff in advance, if I had some, for
This
clarity.
closed session was about the language of the millage, correct?
Yeah, that's what the legal opinion addressed the
So
three
all the
options.
math and everything else they're talking about wasn't part of the closed session.
It could have been,
Could have been.
otherwise we wouldn't have had the budget analyst with us. But, it's not unusual to have an expert to provide data that puts context to the legal opinion. So I've identified 3 options for really any millage. And so to put context to those millage options, your budget and analysts may put numbers beside them so that, it's appropriate to do that.
Okay. Trustee Hayward.
What is the risk of us discussing this publicly?
Well, I don't think there's risk, no.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Trustee now,
Yeah.
Matthew.
I'm gonna give my comment on risk. The risk is the way it's presented to the voting public right now. Before we choose an option of how it's written on the ballot, they're gonna think, I wanna vote yes on this, when technically it's worded funny that you really want a no vote. So it comes down to how it is actually written on the ballot for your voters to understand what a yes and no vote means, because the language is always very tricky when you wanna pass something that shouldn't be passed or vice versa. Is that not true?
I would agree with that, yes.
Thank you.
That's part of what the closed session was for.
There's no language on any of those opinions.
No.
Thank you.
Any other conversation you guys want to have?
Figure out how we're gonna get it done at the next meeting. Can we get the
We
data?
can't. As trustee Tedder has mentioned, we don't want to go into closed session to discuss it and then come out and vote on it. So I don't know how we can do it all in one meeting.
Well, I stated how it's a dangerous proposition to go into closed session without having any details in advance and then coming out with a potential 4-3 vote. That's what I'm getting. I'm not saying it's not appropriate, but if I know what I'm walking into is very different than being presented a kind of an arbitrary scenario for what we're going to closed session for. That's my point. I'm not saying I'm not willing to come out and vote, but if I have advance notice to be able to digest the information in advance of closed session, supporting documents, that's why we have the board member only section, then I would certainly have a willingness to consider voting on the backside of our closed session.
So I'm sorry.
Clerk Newbeck.
Do you have any experience where prior boards have ever not gone into closed session to discuss a millage proposition?
I've been doing it for over 30 years, so I'm sure that has happened. It is not, let's put it this way, it's not unusual to go into closed session to put the different options that the board has legally into perspective. There was no action item scheduled for tonight. So this will be discussed in open session. So taxpayers understand that whatever the board's decision is with regard to the police millage, it was going to be discussed publicly. It just wasn't going to happen tonight. And so that board members understand what a renewal is, what an increase is, what the different options are for millages, so that they possibly, to Trustee Nalamothu's point, don't misspeak. It would be appropriate to go in and explain those different options. That's what the intent of the closed session was, in addition to any financial data that the budget director would have had.
Clerk Newbeck.
With respect to saying risk, I believe that this would also, could possibly involve other entities. So if we were to discuss these options that involves another entity, I don't believe that that should be an open session.
You know,
So do
I mean, you
do-
can make that
Do
argument.
you not foresee a
Look,
possible risk there?
Okay, ultimately, the decision of whether to go into closed session is decided by the board. Any legal opinion, not just the ones that involve risk, can be discussed in closed session. And so that's what the law says, that's what I'm gonna stand by. Whether or not there is potential that this has risk, I can't think of any right now. I don't think that any third party's involved here. You know, whatever, well, I'm not quite sure what you mean by that.
Okay.
You're talking about taxpayers?
No, I'm
Oh,
not.
CIA, DDA?
No.
Oh, okay, I'm missing the point then.
Okay.
Yeah. But the point is, it's appropriate to go into closed session if you have questions with regard to what you're doing. That's what the legal opinion is, and the context would be provided by the numbers.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
The only concern I have.
I do
Okay.
feel that there's risk, and I do have questions that I think should be asked of Township Council in closed session.
Yeah, I mean, it's not unusual. I do it a lot with regard to millages. We've done, I think, 8 millages this year. Only thing is, and I'll remind everybody, I think everybody knows
Yeah, we
that
have a deadline.
it's due by May 12th. I think we have 2 more meetings before that. So we've got to get it in if we want it on the August ballot.
That's right.
Yeah.
I have a question. Dan, what is the risk of the public knowing the options?
Okay, I mean, look, I'm a lawyer. I'd have to define risk. The risk that we're going to be sued, probably not much, if anything.
I just don't,
Yeah.
I'm playing ignorant here because I am to a lot of that.
Yeah,
So I'm just
yeah.
admitting it. Like I just don't understand what questions we would ask or you know, whether we do a renewal, whether we do an increase, you know, why is that not something that, what's so secret about it? I just don't get it. What's the secret?
It's not really secrecy, because as I
Okay.
said, ultimately, it's going to be discussed in public, and when you're in public, if that were to happen at the next meeting, you can say whatever you want about increase. You support it, you don't. Renewal, you support it, you don't. I mean, so there's nothing secret about what would happen in closed session. It's to inform the board, answer any questions the board has about what a potential language of the millage will be in front of them. Don't forget, I have to draft language that needs and should go into a packet if we're gonna do it at the next meeting 2 weeks from now. I need some direction on what we're doing. And that's what closed session can, it's not a final decision, it's not a vote in closed session, but I need some direction, and then you can discuss it in a public meeting 2 weeks from now, and you can change the numbers, you can decide to do something different than what's in the packet, but I need a general idea of what should be in the packet. That's why oftentimes we talk about it in closed session so that the board understands what are the parameters, legal parameters of what you can and can't do. That's it. Nothing, I don't view that as being secret, because I know ultimately it's all going to come out publicly 2 weeks, a month later.
Any other questions? You got one, or you look like you do?
Well, yeah, because I think now to an opportunity to, and I don't know if anybody else, how they feel regarding it, but I don't want to keep somebody else that may have questions regarding this, regarding these things from doing that as well. I have no questions about it. I understand the 3 options, and I get where you're going with the deciding we have 3 options, basically. And they're basically, they're based on monetary things, really. I mean, we have three options, and the option is, where do we need to be without having to dig into the general fund to pay for police services? And so, and if these things are going to be discussed in public, which you say they are, so basically, essentially, you're looking for a direction of which one of these options that we would like to choose from. So we are making a decision in closed session.
Not really.
Well, okay.
You gotta be careful.
Okay, well, because, you're asking to write up, basically language for a millage, either continuation or increase or rollback, I understand that, but,
Yeah.
so what you're looking for is to find out which one of those is probably the best option for us to have language for the ballot.
Okay, I would say that's fair, but it's not a decision of all seven, number
Right.
one. It may be that you want all three options written up by my office and in the packet. And, I could leave the number blank, and you guys fill it in when it's talked publicly. Those are options too. It gets a little sloppy, it gets a little confusing, and of course, we're not right up against the deadline, but we're pretty close. You've got 2 regular meetings before May 12th. We've been pushing, and I think the clerk's office has been pushing as well, not to wait till that last meeting, which is May 5th, because there is a process of submitting it to the county. Shouldn't be an issue, but you certainly don't want to lose the election in August because of a delay. So it looks like we may be headed that way, and I can live with that, and we'll have the language ready for you. But that's the reason why, timing-wise, we wanted to get it done a little bit in advance of that. That's all.
Okay, thank you, and unfortunately, I wish we would have at least gotten some more information. That's really what I want to look for. If I make a motion to reconsider, can I make that motion? If I voted no, I don't know, I can't remember the rules on who can make a motion to reconsider the last.
I think you had to vote in affirmative to make the reconsideration.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I can make a motion to reconsider to go into closed session to discuss the millage for the police.
Wait a minute. Somebody
Voted in the affirmative.
yeah.
I voted to go into closed session,
But it failed.
but it failed.
So somebody who voted, well, it failed.
Is affirmative negative then, in this
So
case?
It has to be one of the 3 that voted against going into closed session.
Because that's the one that won.
Failed. Yes.
I got you. Okay, so then it is you, Hayward. Trustee Hayward, if you want to do it.
So procedurally, it is a motion for reconsideration, which again is supermajority, and then you make the motion to go into closed session, which again is supermajority. Okay?
I have a question for Carrie. Are you the one who is watching the clock? You're the submitter of the, not this clock, I meant the
Oh,
clock on
I was
the.
like, well, it's
Oh,
already
look up.
10 o'clock.
I meant the clock on the millage.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
What, so if we decide to go into closed session now to discuss these 3 options, which we already got in our packet and read,
Mhm.
is, I don't wanna, we have no, we can't afford to pay for the police without a millage, so we gotta get, to be a good steward.
Right.
We need, and with the county's games they're playing, I mean, again, I'm probably not opposed to reconsidering, but I really am going to make the point that Jim made, that I think that we have to have this stuff way in advance, especially when it's real important stuff for us, especially people like me who don't understand it and might need more time to review it. If Renee's gonna come up and start spewing numbers about all the different scenarios, and the costs and what we gotta do to cover it and all of that, it's a challenge to do that. And we knew this was coming, and I don't know why it couldn't have been formatted in some sort of confidential document that these are the scenarios that we're looking at, and this is why which the amounts align with which motion makes the most sense. It's just, if we go into closed session right now, I'm gonna need an education when I stand in there in real time, that I wouldn't probably necessarily need as much had we had that. So I'm willing to make that concession, but we gotta get this closed session thing dialed in, where we only, in my opinion, we only go into them when we absolutely have to. I don't like time-sensitive things that everything keeps coming up time-sensitive. We know when all these deadlines are way in advance. Grants, millages, there's no reason that we weren't talking millage in February, you know, in my opinion. So on those notes, I'm gonna say that, I think to move things forward and to go to the community and to get this millage going, so we're not at risk of missing August and having only one shot at it because we need it, I would reconsider with my comments of future meetings not being, handled this way.
And the purpose of my reconsideration was in light of the more information that we have, the fact that Renee is here to give us some more information. And I agree with Sam, I do not want to lose an opportunity. I don't need to repeat everything that's said. I'll just make a motion to reconsider.
Going into closed session.
Yeah, make a motion to reconsider going into closed session for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion pursuant to MCL 15.2681H, Police Services Operating Millage.
Okay, I'm sorry.
No,
It's
there's two
probably
different
fine,
things.
but
Yep.
it's really two motions.
It-
First
two-
motion.
okay.
Just to reconsider.
Okay, fine,
Yeah,
got it.
Right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to reconsider.
Okay. Second. Can I get a roll call, Madam Clerk, please?
Trustee Tedder,
Yes.
Supervisor File,
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Trustee Hayward.
Yes.
Trustee Morocco.
Yes.
And Trustee Nalamathu.
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to enter into closed session at 8:01 PM
Support.
for the purpose of discussing a confidential legal opinion regarding police services operating millage pursuant to MCL 15.2681H and authorize Renee Herbert, budget analyst, to participate in the discussion.
Support.
Get a roll call, please?
Yep. Supervisor File.
Yes.
Clerk Newbeck, yes. Trustee Hayward.
Yes.
Trustee Morocco.
Yes.
Trustee Nalamathu.
Yes.
Trustee Tedder.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right. We're right for closed session. Okay, at this point, we are at communication future agenda items. We have a building department, March 26th, safety path advisory committee, February 11th. Any board member comments? Trustee Hayward.
Yeah, I would just like to say that I think part of the, I want to work with everybody, and I don't want to stop things and slow things down, but I just think that it was, early on, one of the things that we were getting were updates from Supervisor File. He was sending us updates of what was going on, and I think a lot of this stuff could be avoided if we just knew. And that way, it would eliminate some of the things that, that we struggle with. And I think just most of it's communication issues a lot of times. I don't think that, because it can be perceived as something other than it is. There's this, a term called vain imagination. And what it means is that we think that something's happened that hasn't actually happened. So we get that imagination sometimes, and it's because we don't have enough facts or enough information, and that's all I'll say. So sometimes we can suspect maybe somebody's doing this or somebody's doing that for whatever purpose. And a lot of times that's not the truth. So that's all I would like to say. So I mean, I'm committed to doing what's best for this township and for the residents of the township. So that's all I'd like to say.
Good.
Thank you.
Trustee Morocco.
I just want to say that at the last meeting, you made a comment about don't just say no, bring suggestions. And at the next board meeting, Jim and I are going to make a couple potential capital improvement suggestions that we'd like the board to consider along with the ones that you've proposed. So just wanted to bring that up because I think the sooner we get to what we're really going to do and how big of a grant we need is going to make a big difference on just everybody moving forward and you know, kind of having a plan. So I think the sooner we get everything on the table is going to expedite that process. So we don't want to wait and do it at the end, you know?
Yeah,
So,
well, that's good, that's good.
Yeah, I'll just echo, yeah, that very conceptual ideas, but I think it's appropriate to bring them, you know, in the spirit of cooperation, to bring them to you guys early to take a look at for consideration. It was kind of an ironic way to end up in closed session tonight, ultimately very productive, but we were able to discuss a lot publicly to give us at least a level of comfort to get to closed session, which again was once we were there was very productive. So I appreciate everyone's input tonight, and a good way to conclude our meeting.
Okay. All right, I would also like to apologize to Trustee Morocco and Trustee Tedder. If I jumped on you, snapped at you, I don't feel very well, and my filter maybe was a little more porous than it should have been, so I apologize if I was disrespectful on that front with you guys.
no problem at all.
Thank
Sorry
you.
you feel bad.
All right, anybody have anything else?
Move to adjourn?
Support.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting's adjourned.